Welcome guys, we've had the Monaco Grand Prix and it's that time where I go through and rate each and every one of the drivers and how they got on over the whole weekend. And my predictions review. Interesting one. Let me know your thoughts on the Monaco Grand Prix. What did you make of it? What did you make of the double pit stop, mandatory pit stop? In your eyes, was it a success, a failure? Did it just add a whole other element to the Grand Prix that we just don't have normally on the one-stop strategy? I mean, there's people are going to say, yeah, it was absolutely a massive failure. It clearly didn't really work how they expected or wanted it to work. But it's Monaco and it's always difficult to overtake. So what can we really expect around a circuit like this? For me personally, it was much better than we saw last year. And there was some intrigue of how this would work out. We always now see them just crawl around the Monaco Grand Prix and just pit when they got a gap. And then, that's pretty much it. And the ones that are out of position go long and hold on for a safety car or a red flag to get that cheap stop and change and try and nick a win. It's what we've been seeing for all along, but I did like that it was that little extra element in the race to try and get it to spice things up. It didn't spice things up at all. The problem that you have is even when we've seen cars going 3-4 seconds a lap slower, you still couldn't overtake if they had 4 seconds pace on the guys in front, but they just couldn't get any opportunity to make that work. And so we just leave Monaco as what Monaco is and accept that Saturday is the big day. And come race day, we're just going to get a procession pretty much. And just hope, we get a rain shower in the middle of the race to spice the racing up, because Monaco in the rain is special. Monaco in the dry, even with things shaken up, is not so special. Let me know, what would you introduce to the Monaco Grand Prix? We've seen everybody go for all sorts of like throw banana skins, Mario Kart sort of style gimmicks to throw in there. It's not really going to happen. Do we go reverse grid for one season and see how that one pans out? Seems like the only kind of, even reverse grids, I just think when you see cars lapping 4 or 5 seconds a lap slower, will reverse grids make any difference? Just seems like it's just with the huge big cars that we've got now, really, really difficult to overtake, and they kind of probably just need to slim these cars down back again and make them smaller. And I think everybody will agree with that across the whole board. Even drivers say, look, these cars are too big, too wide, too heavy, and it just makes racing around Monaco what we see today. Not that it's traditionally been a great race. It's been similar like this for 15-20 years. We did get a little bit more overtake, I'd say, when the cars were smaller, especially down into that chicane after coming out of the tunnel, and that's always been that way. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Just wanted to get that one out of the way. Let's get to the driver ratings, and we start, as always, with the race winner, Lando Norris, and he won that race in qualifying, which has been his Achilles heel. It's why I never had him in the top 3 for qualifying in my predictions, because he's struggled, but he put it right where it mattered absolutely the most. He nearly lost it in the first corner, locked up. Charles Leclerc got a great start around the outside, and once he managed to do that first corner, he was pretty comfortable from there. The only thing he probably wished is that McLaren didn't pit him before probably Max Verstappen, because he's probably just nervous that nobody bins it, drops it, and we see a red flag, even under the safety car, he was so close to Verstappen that I think he would have passed him. It just being a safety car, it was just sort of all on a red flag, and that's the only sort of nervous part of the race. And he managed it brilliantly well under pressure, and he wins. Monaco, baby, 10 out of 10. Lando Norris. Second place man, Charles Leclerc, and I definitely didn't expect him to be going this strong. I mean, he dominated the first few sessions of the weekend. Every practice session he was ahead, but when it mattered most, he just well, he got a lap to get pole position, but Lando Norris and McLaren with that double run just caught them, and it was a brilliant lap by Lando Norris. I thought Charles Leclerc personally had done enough with that qualifying lap to nick pole position, and if he'd done that, he would have won another home race for him, and it would have been an absolute steal. I just don't think he can be disappointed though with a second place here. The way that their season has gone, they actually drove and the car was really fast, especially in the hands of Charles Leclerc and in race conditions. He did all he could. He was all over the gearbox of Lando Norris at the end. He was quick, he had the tyres, just couldn't pass, and that's Monaco for you. A 9 out of 10 for me because I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Third place man, Oscar Piastri, and he was just off it a little bit, and that's all it takes around Monaco and this season when it comes to qualifying, because just off it a little bit, and they're so close up at the front. It's a tenth, half a tenth, and it makes all the difference. He started in third, finished in third in the end, drove actually a fairly solid race. He had a tricky one. He went close to the barriers, even in race conditions, and he's hit barriers all throughout almost every session this weekend. But he can't be too disappointed, I suppose. He finished on the podium, just 1 point place behind probably the best he would have hoped for a second. Got a slow first stop. From there he came out and he was lapping early doors, like 2 seconds a lap slower than Lando Norris, and I thought, are McLaren playing these games early doors? He then picked up the pace. It was like right off the back of Charles Leclerc, and then it was a train as usual. Not the best weekend for Oscar Piastri. Now only got a 3-point lead in the championship with Norris breathing down his neck, and it'll be close, and he'll be hoping to get back to winning ways in Spain. But he's really shown, I think it was a decent enough drive, but he's really shown that he's the man to take the fight to Lando Norris. And let's see, do we get the two McLaren boys fighting up front in Spain? Who knows with the new directive coming in where they're changing the front wing, so could we see their dominance go? They seem pretty confident on that. They'll still be at the front. Everybody is just sort of fingers crossed. But for this weekend, for Oscar Piastri, I've given him a 7 out of 10. Fourth place man, Max Verstappen, started there, finished in fourth in the end. He went for, I think, out of the top 4 guys, or 5 guys even, the best strategy, didn't he? He went that little bit longer at the first stop, just again, he had almost the least risk strategy, and even in the second stop, he did absolutely the right thing, just long it out. He was going to be comfortably fourth in the end, and he could have just risked it for everything. It was a win or fourth for him. It ended up in fourth place because there was no red flag for him in the end to save him and nick a win. But other than that, I think it was just a really good strategy call, because it just killed out any element or risk of losing further places. They weren't at the races this weekend as I kind of hoped they would be. Their street track issues that we've seen last year and the years before in this car are still there. They've not been able to dial them out. But a decent enough fourth place finish for Max Verstappen in the end. I've given him, again, a 7 out of 10. Fifth place man, Lewis Hamilton, started in 7th after that 3-place grid penalty. He would have been 4th ahead of Max Verstappen, and that would have rounded out a brilliant weekend for him. In the end, I think it was a really good recovery from 7th to make up 2 places to 5th place. But then in the end, he was just in absolutely no man's land on the second stint on them tyres. He was 30-40 seconds behind Max Verstappen. Didn't really have anything or pace in it. He was a little bit bemused by that. He wasn't really sure where he'd lost his pace, but a decent enough weekend, made up 2 places to 5th place. I've given him a 7 out of 10. 6th place man, Isaac Hadjar, started in 5th place, finished 1 behind in the end, got passed by Lewis Hamilton, and that was the only downside to his strategy call, played brilliantly by Liam Lawson. They went for the 2 early pit stops for him, got them out of the way, and he was safe to go on. And brilliantly controlled race. After hitting the barriers twice, he pulled off a brilliant qualifying session to bring home some absolutely fantastic solid points, but hats off to his teammate to playing a big part in his role. I'm giving him a 9 out of 10. Esteban Ocon started in 8th, finished in 7th in the end because of the DNF for Fernando Alonso, but he was just probably glad he qualified ahead of Liam Lawson. Otherwise he didn't have a teammate to play that rear gunner card for him to slow everyone down and squeeze that pit stop him, because had he not been ahead of Lawson, I think he would have been, like the Mercedes, the most screwed out of the lot of them, because he just didn't have any help or assistance there at all. Yeah, an absolutely fantastic job. Brilliant qualifying session from Esteban Ocon. We know he can do that. He goes well around Monaco, and the team will be very happy to bring up some solid points. I'm giving him a 9 out of 10. 8th place man, Liam Lawson, 9th place. He started and finished 8th in the end, and he drove brilliantly well with the tactic of holding everyone else to get Isaac Hadjar in, and then to come home despite doing that, picking up a couple of good points. A really good weekend, a great team work over the whole weekend to do that for him. He well deserves a lot of the credit just for helping Isaac the way they did. So I'm giving him also a 9 out of 10. 9th place man, Alex Albon, again did like what the RBs did to him. He did it to the Mercedes. The cheeky pass by George Russell in the end actually didn't really cost Carlos Sainz or Williams in the end, but it did cost Russell. He probably should have, if he was going to go down that route, done it well earlier, and he might have had a chance of passing Sainz, did Russell. It didn't work out that way in the end. I think Alex did a really good enough job up until that point. Yeah, got helped by Sainz, and then he did the job for Carlos and worked brilliantly as a team to bring home some good points in the end. I'm giving him an 8 out of 10. Carlos Sainz finished in 10th in the end, also just thanks to the DNF of Fernando Alonso, who would have been just out of the points because he just sacrificed his race to help his teammate. Again, I'm going to give him a lot of the credit for the Alex Albon points as well. I'm going to rate them equally. I'm giving them both an 8 out of 10 for the Williams guys. I think that was just because of the teammate, and it worked out with some solid points. Not the best racing. They were just held their hands up. This is not how we wish to go racing, but it is what it is. A decent weekend from him. 11th place finisher George Russell in the end. It was just really screwed over by the issue on qualifying, starting in 14th place. He knew it was going to be a difficult weekend for him from there, and it was just absolutely massively frustrating for him, being just held up by the Williams 4-5 seconds a lap slower than he wanted to go. No place for overtaking, and he just did the best overtaking move of the race weekend, where he just thought, sod it, I'm going for the penalty, and despite that penalty he ended up finishing further ahead than he would have projected to do so. So it was absolutely the right call. It finished in 11th out of the points, but frustrating because of the way the tactics just worked around Monaco, and it is just going to be the way it is. Like we've said before, the Mercedes strategy just didn't help him at all in any way. They just went long and hoped for the safety car or a red flag. It just didn't come, and yeah, horrible drive. Despite that, I mean, the drive-through, but the funny bit is that he just did a drive-through and still finished ahead of where he thought he would do. And normally that just means you're so screwed. It's, it's the way it goes. But he was helped by his teammate Kimi Antonelli, dropped back whole places to let sort of that happen for George Russell in the end. But yeah, a really difficult weekend. But I'm giving him a 6 out of 10 just for that overtake. 12th place finisher Ollie Berman started in last place, made up 8 places from where he started in the end. He pitted on lap 1, pot of the mediums, and he was 4 seconds a lap faster than the front runners, which was absolutely incredible. Got himself up into P15, and then to make up places on Colapinto, Bortoleto and Hulkenberg in the end, where it's been really difficult to overtake. I think he did a really solid job to come back from that far back to make up 8 places. Worked really well for him. I'm giving him a 9 out of 10. 13th place finisher Franco Colapinto started in 18th, made up a good 5 places to get up into P13 in the end. Obviously helped with the 2 DNFs and also the disaster class strategy from Mercedes, but he did make up 2 places despite that. So shows whatever he did, it worked out really well for him. Much better race weekend, finished no real incidents, and to come home to finish where he did in Monaco, where it's difficult to overtake, he just executed what he did. So and what he needed to. So I'd say a good race from him. When you've qualified that poorly like him and his teammate did, it's always going to be a difficult race. But I'm giving him an 8 out of 10 because I thought that's pretty solid for a rookie that's coming to a new car in his second race. Gabi Bortoleto, P16 to P14 in the end, and I thought he had a decent enough race weekend when you consider he was last facing the wall at turn 1, but the strategy then from there onwards worked really well. A great recovery drive. If you think from he was effectively last last, obviously helped by 2 DNFs, which were all ahead of him, but then he still made up a couple of places to finish 14th in Monaco. I think he can be happy with that. Bad qualifying sessions for the rookies, but they've come good in race day. I think he'll be pretty happy with that. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. 15th place man Lance Stroll started in 19th place, finished in 15th in the end. He was beaten by Gabby Bortoletto, who was facing the wall in turn 1. I think that'll be the most disappointing part of his race. Did just got screwed over by the sort of guys in front playing the strategy game, but his weekend really just started off on the back foot with a horrendous qualifying session. Fernando Alonso qualified really high up, and this guy went out in Q1. So it sums it up. It's going to be difficult in Monaco. You've got to get your qualifying right. He absolutely didn't do that, so I'm giving him a 5 out of 10. Next up, Nico Hülkenberg started in 13th place and ended up in 16th place, and their strategy call on his side of the garage was as bad as the Mercedes. He went 32 laps on the soft tyres, which everyone was literally throwing on for 4, 5, 6 laps, just a minimum amount they needed to do so, and threw them off. And what were they thinking when they went 32 laps at the end? Tried, but it just, whatever they were trying, it really didn't work and really cost Hülkenberg in the end. I'm giving him a 4 out of 10. 17th place finish for Yuki Tsunoda. Another race weekend gone by in the Red Bull where it's just nearly not clicked. Qualified in P12. Always going to be difficult from there for him to sort of have any impact in the race. And he just went backwards horribly. Pitted on lap 1. And then he got a massive hit by Pierre Gasly in lap 9. I'm sure he would have had some damage that he was nursing on that in the end. And then they went for the ultra long second stop, trying to just hold out for red flag safety car. It didn't work for him, and finished 17th in the end. A disappointing weekend from Yuki, not helped by the poor qualifying session. I'm giving him a 4 out of 10. Kimi Antonelli next up, finished in 18th in the end. Started in 15th. It was always going to be difficult for him from here, and he really got screwed over. He was screwed over more than his teammate by the Red Bull and Carlos Sainz strategy, and then he played the team game to help Russell up into 11th in the end. He slowed down to try and create that gap for his pit stop, and then he pitted and was effectively last of the races, and it was nothing he can do from there. A weekend in Monaco to forget. I hope he just click back up into where he left off. I know a circuit we probably know as well, and you can overtake in Spain. I'll just be hoping for better next time out. A 4 out of 10 for me for him. On to the DNFs. A DNF for Pierre Gasly on lap 9 with a massive crash. I don't know if he's had a brake issue or just lost it and went straight into over Yuki Tsunoda, and then nearly took out his teammate as well in the end. Lucky escape there. There's no serious injuries, and lucky didn't take out his teammate, but not a great weekend for him. No rating because he only did 9 laps. And then the most disappointing one, Fernando Alonso was going in points. It looked like finally he'll get off his season to some, with some points that are well deserved. He was running comfortably in P8, and just did the job he needed to do, and then pop went his engine. It's just real sour bad luck for him so far this season so far. The fact he's scored no points, absolutely gutting on lap 30. That was his race done. No rating for him. He did less than race distance, half race distance. On to the predictions review. Not a good one. For the qualifying, I had Max Verstappen to take pole position, Piastri second, and Carlos Sainz with a surprise Williams in third. That didn't come off, did it, with Norris, Leclerc and Piastri in them positions, every one of them wrong. For the race, I thought Piastri would win it, Max come home in second and Sainz in third, just because I didn't think there'd be much change. The top 3 finished in the position that they qualified. I thought it'd be a good weekend for the Williams. I guess you could say it was, but not as good as I thought it would be, so I'm not going to take any credit for that. I think the Racing Bulls were the ones that came home with the guys that had a good weekend this weekend, with some solid points from Isaac Hadjar and Liam Lawson. I thought it'd be a bad weekend for the Ferrari boys. Gladly proven wrong on that one, but didn't see that performance coming from anywhere. Leclerc, when he went fastest in practice 1 and practice 2, I thought, it's too early yet, but then he went fastest in practice 3 and nearly nicked pole position. Had he nicked pole, he would have taken the win. I'm pretty confident of that. And Lewis Hamilton, his best qualifying session in the Ferrari we've seen for a long time in P4. Shame for a 3-place grid penalty, because I think he would have finished in 4th in the end, but a decent recovery to come home in 5th. So yeah, definitely not a bad weekend for Ferrari, especially considering how poor it has been in races before where they qualified absolutely nowhere. But yeah, a decent Monaco Grand Prix for them in the end. And next up is Spain, and we've got the big technical directives coming in where they're not allowed to have the flexi front wing, and everybody's sort of licking their lips to say, will we see another big change? Ferrari are bringing more upgrades to Spain as well, off the back of a couple of good Monaco at least, and a good race that we saw from them in Imola in the end. You know, could we see a change up at the front? And I think everyone's got their fingers crossed that this technical directive really does affect McLaren, and then drops them back into the fight with everybody else. Who knows? Let's see how it goes. A lot of cars and teams sort of, I know Red Bull have got high hopes on this helping them in their championship fight with the McLarens. Let's see how it pans out in the end. It should be an interesting race coming thick and fast next weekend. Watch out for the preview for the Spanish Grand Prix, and then for the qualifying and race review. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. As always, see you on the next one.